First owners of ECs make average gains of more than 300k when selling. And that's according to a plentiful amount of press coverage on the significant gains achieved for ECs. If you are a first-hand EC owner yourself, you might be wondering what's next after your MOP. Well, here are 7 things that you can consider, and one of these might just be for you. But first, a quick disclaimer, policies in real estate change very frequently, so do check back with me for the latest information. And with that said, let's take a look. Now, the first thing you could do is to rent out your whole unit. So during your MOP, you can rent out your bedrooms, and in fact, you don't need prior approval from HDB to do so. You just need to register the renting out of your bedrooms within 7 days of doing so. But once you've reached your MOP, you can rent out your whole unit for some rental income. But that said, if you don't have a cheaper form of accommodation or some other plans to stay elsewhere, then this method may not be for you. The second thing that you can do is to restructure the ownership of your EC under a process commonly known as decoupling. Here's how it works. Now, whether you're holding the EC under unequal or equal shares, the process is the same. The decoupling process will involve one party as the remaining owner of the existing EC and the other party who will exit ownership of the EC. Now, there are several steps to this entire process, and the first step is if the exiting party had used CPF to make payment for the EC, he or she would first be required to refund that CPF used along with accrued interest using cash. The next step will be to restructure the loan from 2 borrowers to 1 borrower to be under the remaining party's financing. Next, the help of a law firm is needed to structure the selling of the exiting party's share to the remaining party, and along with that, the payment of seller's stamp duty if applicable. Now, with the selling of that share will also come a purchase of that share. The remaining party will be purchasing the share from the exiting party, and along with that, the payment of buyer's stamp duty on the valuation of that share. And so, at the end of this process, we'll be left with one owner, and the exiting party can then go on to purchase a private property without incurring ABSD. Alternatively, if you had purchased the EC under the Owner-Occupier Scheme, at the end of that 5-year MOP period, the occupier can go on to purchase a private property without incurring ABSD and without going through any of the aforementioned steps. Now, the next 4 things all involve selling your EC unit. But before I get into it, I'd like to first share a quick note about how financing works differently between a first and second-hand EC. Buyers buying a new EC are assessed under the MSR or Mortgage Servicing Ratio framework. But buyers buying an EC that has already met its MOP will be assessed under the TDSR Total Debt Servicing Ratio framework. Here's how they work differently. Now, assuming a couple both 35 years of age, both drawing an $8,000 monthly income with 2 credit cards each, and one of them having a $1,000 monthly car loan, assuming a 4% interest safety factor, under the MSR framework, their maximum loan is $1 million, but under the TDSR framework, their maximum loan is $1.5 million. This would mean for the same purchase price of $1.5 million across a new and second-hand EC, for the new EC, they would have to pay the shortfall of $500k in cash and CPF as their loan was only $1 million. But if buying a resale EC, their loan is well at the maximum 75% support level, and that means they will only pay the shortfall of $375k in cash and CPF, which was lower than if they went for a new EC. As a result of this difference in financing frameworks, what this means for a first-hand EC owner is that, back to our example of an EC unit bought at $1.5 million, if resold at $1.8 million in the resale market, buyers of a similar financial profile would actually fork out an almost equivalent amount of down payment in cash and CPF, and this is where the price gain of a lot of first-hand ECs come in. And next, for number 3, will be to sell and buy the next new launch condo. As a first-hand EC owner, you've probably seen for yourself the effect of price staging by the developer and the benefits of being the first owner. However, selling your unit to buy the next new launch condo will require that you have a place to stay whilst waiting for the new launch condo to complete. Alternatively, if you have sufficient funds and with the right ownership structure, you can consider purchasing the new launch condo first, paying the required ABSD, and then selling your EC unit within 6 months after the new launch has attained TOP or CSC, whichever is earlier, in order to claim back that ABSD from IRAS. Item number 4 is to sell and buy a resale condo. With the general trends of prices in the new launch and resale market, it is totally possible to buy a resale condo at a cheaper price than a new launch. The only thing to be mindful of to avoid running into the issue of ABSD is to make sure that your selling OTP is exercised before you exercise your buying OTP for the resale condo. Otherwise, if your plan is to acquire an additional asset, you could consider item number 2, restructuring your ownership. Item number 5 is to sell and buy a resale HDB. Now here's where a little bit of policies come into the picture. With effect from 30th September 2022, private homeowners who sell their properties have to wait 15 months before they can buy a resale HDB. And this applies to you as an EC seller as well. This means that if you take this route, you will need accommodation for that 15 months of wait time. Now this 15-month wait period will not apply to sellers who are aged 55 years old and above who are moving from their private property to a 4-room or smaller resale HDB. Number 6 is to sell your current EC and to buy another new EC or a BTO. Now, if you bought your current EC unit as a second timer, then this option is no longer available to you. But if you were a first timer when you bought your current unit, then you have one more opportunity to buy the next government subsidized housing unit. First, you're going to have to sell your current EC unit and wait 30 months before you can apply for a new BTO or a new EC. And you also need to pay a resale levy. Now, there are some misconceptions about how the resale levy works, so here's a quick run through for you. The first thing to keep in mind is that you're not liable to pay the resale levy if you are just selling your first subsidized unit, meaning a new BTO, a sale of balance flat, or a new EC. You're only liable to pay the resale levy when you're trying to purchase your second subsidized unit, a BTO, SBF, or a new EC. Let me illustrate this with an example. Let's assume today you own your first government subsidized unit, and this can refer to a BTO or sale of balance flat, or if you bought a resale HDB and you took CPF grants except if you took the proximity grant, or in this case you have a new EC. After you sell this property, you can go on to purchase any other kind of properties, and that includes resale HDB or private residential units. And none of these scenarios will incur any form of resale levy. However, at the point where you apply for a new subsidized unit, and this includes a BTO or a new EC, and in the event that you are successful, you will have to pay the resale levy in accordance to the type of unit that you owned that was your first subsidized unit. If you had sold your first subsidized unit before the 3rd of March 2006, this table will reflect the amount of resale levy that you'll be liable to pay. And if you sold your first subsidized unit on or after the 3rd of March 2006, this table will reflect the amount of resale levy that is applicable for you. In this case, if you are a first-hand EC owner and you wish to purchase the next either BTO, SBF, or another new EC, you'll be liable for a resale levy of $55,000 to be paid for using cash only when you're purchasing this second subsidized unit. And as for our last item, number 7, you don't have to do anything at all, you can wait a little longer. In fact, according to a report published in the Business Times in July 2023 that analysed 5,033 EC transactions for projects that were launched from 2010, on one hand, it did find that first-hand EC owners make an average profit of $322,000. But more specifically, when units were sold within the first year of MOP, they made an average of $317,000. And if sold in the second year of MOP, they make an average of $327,000. And when approaching the 10-year mark, average gross gains were more than $500,000. So it does pay to maybe wait for a little longer, it seems. And so that's it. Those are the 7 things that you can do once your EC has met its MOP. I hope this video has been useful for you. If you'd like some advice specific for your situation, I'll be glad to assist. Drop me a note and I'll be in touch. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.